Jax, hi. Good to see
Hello.
you. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. Thursday before Easter. The
Two
sun is
weeks,
shining.
2 weeks to go
Yep,
before Bologna.
yep,
How
yep.
are you feeling ahead of it all?
Well, I'm feeling as though Easter's the wrong time because, to be honest, it's pretty busy. And to have Friday and Monday where, we might be working, but weirdly other people aren't, can be a bit challenging. But
And
looking forward.
how far in advance do you have to go out before the fair itself starts?
Well, you guys come in on the Sunday. We go anytime from the Thursday, really.
Okay, okay. And then I help out a little bit with your wonderful edition of Bologna Book Plus to the event, and I know I face a recurring question. So can you, for those that still only associate Bologna with the children's fair that everyone knows and loves, can you walk us through a Bologna Book Plus's kind of reason for being and how it came to be?
Well, we could say reason for being, or we could say raison d'etre, because we are an international book fair. Well, essentially, any book fair takes decades to really evolve, to be honest, and the children's book fairs changed a lot. I think that the whole idea behind it is really not only to expand the rights offering into general publishing, because there are an awful lot of publishers who might primarily be children's publishers, but who then have expanded into general publishing, but are very used to going to Bologna or can only afford one spring book fair a year. So therefore, that gives them the opportunity to do business across the spectrum. Also, there are an awful lot of long haul flight people, so non-Europeans for whom getting to a spring book fair or getting to any book fair in Europe is a big budgetary concern. And, if they want to do Bologna one year and another spring book fair, must be London, another year, then you want to be able to offer the flexibility to be able to trade across both general and children's. Also, Bologna, is so well established in the children's world, and all book fairs need to evolve. And it's evolving. It had already established the licensing trade fair. So
Yeah.
it was a natural thing for it to move on to general publishing. It arrived sort of COVID, post Brexit. Some people, there's a visa issue there as well. That some people get a European visa, a Schengen visa. And, so there's lots of good reasons for it.
And I've noticed in the few years that I've been coming to the Book Plus side of things, how it's grown, with all different elements being added on all the time, the footfall growing every year. So you must be pretty happy with its development so far.
I'm very happy with its development. I was very realistic as to how long it takes to change a brand perception. But one of the massive benefits, I think, is that obviously Bologna is synonymous with design and illustration. What else would you expect from Italy? But, that design and illustration in children's books is obviously essential. But my goodness, it's absolutely essential in general publishing as well, and never more so than in a digital age. So to be able to draw on the expertise and the longevity, if you like, of the Bologna brand in that space, and to be able to bring that to the general publishing world and to really shine a spotlight on the part that design, illustration, production plays in the wider book industry is a joy. And this year we're launching something called the Designer Studio, where it will completely concentrate on 4 days of programming for illustrators, designers, and anyone who's interested in book production. So to me, that's a huge plus. No pun intended, but put it there if you want. Bologna Book.
Yeah, we'll include it.
Yeah. So,
So you've touched on a couple of things there, but for people that haven't attended before on the Book Plus side of things, do you want to give us some kind of a highlight walkthrough of the different kind of elements you include? So you've talked about licensing, you've got this fantastic design element you've just spoken about, but there's so much more that people may or may not be aware of.
I think one of the things that Bologna Book Plus has complemented the Bologna Children's Book Fair offering with is really, really strong programming. So there's 3.5 days of very strong seminar, forums, summits, training. We have 2 theatres. We also have a rights training I think we're the only book fair now that does rights training. We still do that, and we're doing that on the Sunday afternoon preceding the fair. So take as read that you have exhibitors from, you know, 60
Every
countries or
country
whatever.
name.
Yeah, well, in the wider Bologna halls, you have many, many, many more countries represented. But we're very pleased because we're growing every year. So I think we're now up to 72.
Wow.
But that's great. So you're going for the breadth of your international trading and networking, and then you're putting in pillars, if you like, of what are the hot topics, unavoidable topics, challenges, opportunities, etc., that publishers are embracing or facing today. And to that end, of course, we have the audio forum.
I've heard about that one. Yeah.
Yeah, there's this guy who does it. Honestly, I don't know if you audiobooks. My goodness, we started talking about audiobooks way back when at the London Book Fair. There was obviously programming when I was director of the London Book Fair around audiobooks. And every year, in the statistics and the press briefing, it was, and audiobooks have grown a massive, double-digit growth year on this year. But I mean, I think audiobooks are not going to stand still, just as nothing else is going to stand still in an AI era. The audio forum, fascinating. We also have an AI summit. We have a translation forum. We're launching Bestseller Awards Italia. We partner with Nielsen on their Bestseller Awards, which are the only data-driven awards here in the UK, and we have done for the last few years. And we're taking them to Italy, so they will be based on Italian data. So we're
And
launching
which
those
day? Which day is
Monday.
this,
We're
on the
not
Monday?
actually, so we're launching the awards. We're not actually, although we do have a couple of pretty cool recipients of 2 awards who will be there. So, and then we have, we have seminars where we really try and get international voices. It's very easy to get very English language dominated.
Yeah.
And obviously being in Italy to have Italian industry stuff as well. So we try and really bring international voices into all of the different seminars. I've only touched on a
Yeah, I
couple.
mean, there's a wealth, and we can include some links so people can deeper dive into all the kind of scheduling and the programming
Yeah.
from the 2 or 3 days. What would you describe as like the overarching aims? Like when you first took this on with your team, and it's a relatively small team you have, right?
Mhm.
When you first took this on, what would you say your aims were? Did you sit down with a bit of paper and go, right, I want to achieve X, Y, and Z, or has it grown organically?
I think one of my aims was not to make it, I didn't want it to be a mini other London or Frankfurt. I wanted it to have its own personality because Bologna has
Yeah.
its own personality. And I have mentioned the design and illustration aspect. I think it's really, really, really important. So, I mean, I'm not going to give too much away, but obviously when you're looking at something, you think, well, is there a gap there? Is there an opportunity here? Is there, and, slowly but surely we are sort of complementing what was there already and expanding it. And I think that's very much what I wanted to do. I think I was feeling very sore post Brexit. I was feeling that actually I was feeling quite bereft, to be honest.
Hmm.
And so to do something in the heart of Europe is a joy. And I say that a lot, but it is absolutely true.
And if I may say, Jax, I think you've achieved this, right? Because I'd gone to Bologna, the children's fair, for years when I was doing all the digital children's publishing at Penguin. And somehow I think you've achieved this thing where you've got Bologna Book Plus in its own right that you've had to, I think you've had to fight to kind of establish in its own
Yeah.
right. Somehow kept it fully recognized with all that character and feeling that everything else Bologna brings. So whether it be the fair itself or the city, somehow you've kind of, I don't quite know how you've done it, but you've straddled that very well.
Thank you. That's
So you go there with the feeling of when you walk into as someone that's not working on it every day like you, but you walk into your section of Hall 29, and you've got everything of Bologna, all those feelings that it conjures there, and then you're kind of in Hall 29, and you'll know you're part of Bologna Book Plus. It's so yeah, somehow it works really really well.
Thank you.
Independent, independent and autonomous, but related somehow.
Very related, I hope, because, when we do something like the audio forum or another seminar, Where it's appropriate, you definitely want, because there are discussions about audiobooks going on in other parts of the book fair, because obviously in the children's book world there are dedicated seminars on audiobooks. Quite often it's nice to have a voice that represents children's publishing within the Bologna
Mm.
Book Plus offering as well,
Yeah.
just to bring us in a way.
Yeah. And I think we've done that in the past, right, with the audio forums. I know one year we did it. We had a dedicated panel on the screenless kids
Yes.
devices. This year, I know we're going to touch on it in one of the panels around finding reluctant readers. And of course, one ilk of reluctant reader may be children. So there'll be speakers across.
Well, you're doing something for the National Year of, in the National Year of Reading, aren't you? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Somebody needs to tell the Today program that audiobooks are also a brilliant way in for children.
Mm.
They have an article every single day on the National Year of Reading, as far as I can see. Books are
Okay.
recommended, which is great, but we could also hear some.
Yeah. Well, I'll mention it to a few.
You need to talk to
Brilliant.
your partners. I
Yeah.
shall.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's only
Exactly.
just occurred to me as we're
Yeah, that's a really good point. It's a really good point. What's been the biggest challenge so far in setting this up, or even this year?
the biggest challenge was obviously COVID, because anything, I mean, I know we say COVID, that seemed 6 years ago, but I mean, good on Bologna for actually carrying on with it, because,
Yeah.
all right, the London Book Fair was cancelled. I was leaving anyway. I was looking for something different. This came up, fantastic. No one could have anticipated the number of lockdowns that we stuttered on with.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I actually admire Bologna enormously for continuing with it. And we launched as along with the rest of the book fairs that year in a digital space. So I think when I say COVID, I'm not just talking about that initial challenge. I'm talking about how long it took for the world to recover in terms of
Yeah.
travel to be normalized, etc. And I feel as though last year was the year that it really felt normal, and now, of course, we're in a different space with
Yeah.
different challenges.
Challenges.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think anyone running any business at the moment that requires consumers to invest,
Mm.
industries to invest, people to travel, I honestly think that it's very difficult to budget. It's very difficult to commit.
Yeah.
To plan. Commit is the wrong word. There are lots of people willing to commit, but to actually plan and allow those plans to come to fruition, where the world is conspiring against you, is difficult. And
Yeah.
I'm not just talking about books. I'm talking about.
Any industry really. But
I'm
then,
glad I don't run an airline.
Mm. But we've become incredibly resilient, right? And learned how to work some ways for the better, I would say, from our side, for sure. With, digital tools, there's nothing like meeting people in person, right? I think we'd both agree on that. But we've
I,
realized,
yeah.
you can find other ways. Um,
I think it's a bit like not going into offices all the time. I think for people who are experienced, who have their networks, who know what they're doing, etc., not going into an office is fine. I think for people who want to learn, who want the water cooler, moments, who want just absorb information by hearing their colleagues around them,
mm,
I think
yeah.
that's tough. And I think that digital communication is absolutely superb as long as you know the people and as long as it's not a really tough conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. It's right for certain conversations. It's okay for certain conversations. Other
Digital
ones.
chemistry is difficult.
Mm. That's a really good line. Can I steal that?
Sure.
Digital chemistry is difficult. Yeah. As part of your work with Bologna Book Plus, I know you have relationships with other international fairs and travel around and are present in lots of different parts of the world. Can you talk us through some of the thoughts on that, like why that's part of your process, what you gain from it, and how some of that might manifest itself in what people see when they come in a couple of weeks?
I think one of the things that struck me very forcibly when I first, because I haven't spent my entire working life in book fairs.
Hmm.
So my first experience was at London when I became director there in 2013. And I was sort of looking at the book fair schedule for all of us, sort of wandering around the world. And I was going, why are we going to all these different book fairs? Shouldn't we be concentrating on our own? And in actual fact, of course, how do you sell a book fair? You sell a book fair at another book fair.
Hmm.
because you're meeting all the people
Yeah.
who are interested in going to book fairs. So that's, I mean, that is a really obvious thing. And obviously, I was exceptionally obtuse about that. But more to the point, I think it is expanding your contact base, just as anybody who goes to a book fair does. That's why they go to a book fair.
Absolutely.
And to rekindle, old contacts, that's why you go to a book fair. To trade, that's why you go to a book fair. But also to get inspiration. And when you go to book fairs in different markets, you are really, really you're doing quite a deep dive into those markets, industries, because you want to know what makes them tick and what they're looking for, what they're looking to achieve if they come to your book fair. And I work quite hard with international exhibitors to find out what they want to get from a program or from a presence. And I try very hard to sort of help them achieve that. And it could be as simple as just, they've got something new they want to say, that they want a seminar, they want a platform to say it on, or
Yeah.
they want to be able to, there's a particular country that really is relevant to them and they want to share a platform with them, or it could be as simple as a meeting.
Or forge a bridge, a connectivity of some kind.
Yes. And it's bridging things. But it's understanding, first and foremost, you cannot possibly do business with a country where you really do not understand what
Hmm.
they want.
Absolutely. But, you and I will have both seen a lot of cases where those kind of, not cultural mishaps, but just kind of lack of understanding or lack of depth of knowledge in a market's needs or a market's way of working or all kinds of things. Yeah.
Well, I'm
What,
sure we've all had cultural mishaps as well. I know I have.
yeah,
But
I'm not going to pretend I haven't.
it is interesting. And also the other reason you go is quite often with big programs like guest of honor programs, you are
Yeah.
seeing ministries and
Yeah.
places and associations. I mean, we've got a fantastic guest of honor program going on at the moment with Norway. We were in Oslo and met all these sort of cultural movers and shakers, I think last November, and authors. And gosh, I mean, it's a really privileged ringside seat, to be honest.
So with all of your travel, I think you travel more than I do. What's the coolest things you've seen? Is there anything that just jumps to mind immediately that you've seen abroad and you're just like, wow, we had never thought of that, or it might be, wow, there's no way we could do that.
Well, you go to,
Something very local and specific, maybe.
in terms of other book fairs, you can go to other book fairs, and every book fair has a different P&L, really.
Mm,
So some book fairs are getting vast amounts of money from governments, etc. And there's absolutely no way we can match some of the
yeah,
high tech stuff that's done. Definitely, one is open mouthed. You look at things and say, "Wow, that's incredible. Well done, whichever country it is." In terms of actually the privilege of visiting different countries, etc., I think I loved going to Vilnius, Lithuania,
mm,
because Bologna is the oldest university in continuous use, but I
mm.
think Vilnius is the oldest university, I think. An amazing, a gorgeous city. And I saw
Beautiful city.
two very contrasting bookshops. One, absolute incredible superstore, and then a very old, lovely, as you would expect, a sort of fairy tale bookshop, really.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I love Vilnius. I love the museums I always call them the democracy museums, but in actual fact, I think they're the freedom museums in Tallinn and in Lithuania. So what else can I say?
well, they're two great examples. The two places we work as well. We're privileged to work in both of those countries, both those languages. So I know
Yeah.
exactly what you've been lucky to go to both a few times. Yeah.
And also, I mean, the amazing thing, I know one of the other things that I really like, just as putting my tourist hat on, if you like, is in Warsaw with these pianos that just play without
Yeah.
anybody sitting at them.
Yeah.
Obviously, celebrating Chopin, and with that huge Stalin-esque building behind. I think that's quite
Yeah.
cool. I love the book institutes in Estonia, in Riga, in Vilnius, in Warsaw. They are incredible. They are incredible people who run those institutes, and what they're doing for their authors and literature abroad is just amazing.
Punching above their weight.
Well, I don't know, because their weight is fairly hefty as well. But I mean, I never cease to be amazed at how, if
Yeah.
you have the will, the collective will to actually really organize yourself as an industry, it's amazing.
Generally speaking, so you will have, as you said, a great set of programming at Bologna Book Plus for people from all over the place, from all different elements of publishing, tackling all kinds of topics and subtopics within their fields. What do you see as the biggest opportunities in publishing generally right now? So I mean, right across the board, whether you're a small language publisher or in a bigger market.
I think, well, greater literacy around the world is obviously a huge opportunity, unfortunately balanced by, lower concentration times, which I think, spans or whatever, which I think is fairly well documented. But I think a greater understanding, respect for storytelling in all formats, and acceptance that the book plays a role in that, often the primary role, but all book spin-offs. So from that point of view, I think we take it for granted now. But I think that really, because I'm, so old and I've been around for so long, I think that people take that for granted. Whereas in actual fact, in the 80s, it was still pretty exciting to get a film from a book.
Right.
And
Yep.
now those films are, people are hungry for books to buy. And then there's the knowledge aspect. And I mean, I think we do take a Google search for granted,
Yeah.
but somebody is actually providing those facts.
Yeah.
So I feel as though we need to insinuate ourselves more in the recognition of
Hmm.
the joy of entertainment and the need for knowledge, and also re-emphasize how many different ways you can actually engage with a book.
I like this line of thought. There's some really interesting things starting to happen as well. We spoke at the start about reaching reluctant readers and these kind of things. I read this week about as a UK example about Dua Lipa's book
The
club.
London Literary Festival. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's an amazing crossover. I mean, I know she's had the book club going for a long time and it's pretty established, but that's is one example of a great kind of crossover for youth, at least.
Well, Taylor Swift and poetry. I mean, it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
But also, I feel as though as an industry, we need to take control of our own destinies, and a little bit more, and just say, look, guys, AI scrapes, and we're very, very worked up about copyright, obviously, and quite properly, and we cannot take our foot off the pedal on that. But why do you want us? You want us because we're good.
yeah,
Where would
yeah,
you be without us?
yeah. And I've always seen publishers as like the ultimate curators, right?
Yeah,
This,
tastemakers, curators,
yeah,
arbiters, when it comes to knowledge, science, whatever,
yeah,
you know, and the way that, people sort of say, oh, well, somebody's doing an operation in some far-flung territory and somebody's talking them through it and they're got a video, etc. But that all comes from actually a medical textbook from,
yeah.
somewhere along the
The
line.
knowledge
So I,
base.
I think it's all, we're talking about audio as well, but I mean, there are so many different ways to interact with what a book offers, I think.
Yeah, I agree. This is one of the things, I know the audio forum is the audio forum, but I think actually the juxtaposition of the two, because you have the AI summit as well,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
audio is the kind of the format in the house that people continuously seem to be excited by.
Yeah.
I would say AI in all its guise is a subject that everyone is talking about and will have differences of opinion on. But I think there's a really nice juxtaposition of the two. So you have the AI summit on the Tuesday morning, I believe, and then the audio forum on the Wednesday afternoon. But across those two, so many of these things will complement and overlap in
With
so many
Tuesday
ways.
afternoon. Well,
And I think,
they're fairly symbiotic, aren't they? I mean, the
yeah,
AI discussion in terms of the purity of the audio is
yeah, and
something
but
that
you know,
translates from print as well, doesn't it?
yeah, but the reason I've put it there in that way, Jax, when I really thought about pulling these things together, and I'm kind of not solely responsible, I'm partly responsible for there always being these two conversations. So at London in the past, I've had events about the art of the audiobook, and maybe I did something similar Frankfurt, I can't remember. And then we'll have other conversations around AI voice recordings and the benefits of this, right? So we're not on about the creative element of this. It's just, technical stuff. But then I was like, why are we having this separate all the time? We're allowing it to become it's this or it's this, when in my view, it's a completely non-binary conversation, because the two do coexist already. People will choose to deny it or like turn a blind eye here or encourage this end here. But I just thought, in order for the audience to actually have something to go away and really think about or act upon, because the great thing about our industry is it's full of super intelligent people. I've worked in industries where it's not that way. Super intelligent people. So we're intelligent enough to have a debate, which means we don't have to agree with each other either. So that's why that one kind of is there. And I'll be really intrigued to see how it plays out, or whether everybody is just too polite, because it's also a very polite industry. So I
Well,
don't
maybe,
imagine there won't be
maybe,
boxing gloves, but we'll see.
maybe in 2027 we'll have to have the sort of bridge event, won't we?
Yeah. Or we could do, yeah, we could do something together. Like Nadeem and I have discussed this in the
Yeah,
past. Like, you know,
that might be quite fun, a bridging event.
you know what? In a year's time, both conversations, whether they're the AI related ones or the audio ones, will have moved at such a pace,
I
they'll
know.
be unrecognized.
I know. But also, when you were saying about, everyone's very polite, so everyone, who knows whether or not there'll be verbal fisticuffs. I think that's one of the things I absolutely adore about seminars at an international book fair, because you get the very different cultural tropes. So, uh, you never know.
I won't keep you much longer, Jax, but you've been going for many years. What are your top tips for navigating the fair? So, Bologna Book Plus and the wider Fiera itself and the wonderful city of Bologna. What are your top
Well,
tips?
I think book fairs in general, you've got to have a plan. I think book fairs are pretty miserable if you don't have a couple of sort of firm points during the day, whether or not that's attending a seminar or, I know a lot of people have back-to-back meetings, but it depends what your discipline is. If you're there to sell or if you're there to buy, you're probably going to have lots and lots of meetings, and you should do. Apart from that, I think do your prep, have a look and see what you want to do, because the thing about a book fair, it's a bit like a music festival. There's always another band that you
Yeah,
wanted to see at the same time. So really plot your days, leave enough time for the serendipitous meeting,
I like that. Leave time for serendipity.
and make sure that you've got a few people that you know who are going, so that you can actually look them up and see a friendly face. Be open to new meetings. And in terms of Bologna Book Plus, obviously you make sure you come and see us, and you'll get a warm welcome. In terms of the city itself, walk. Just make sure you walk, because it is a walking city.
Very walkable. And yeah,
Yeah.
don't rely on taxis for sure.
Well, that's a different point. But there's plenty of transport, but it is a walking city. It's lovely. If you're staying near the Fiera, make sure you go into the city as well. It's not far. It's walkable actually into the city. But, I quite understand that I would take a taxi myself. But the other thing is to read our author ambassador from last year, Tom Benjamin,
Mm.
who his crime series,
Yeah.
it's set in Bologna. And
Yep.
honestly, they're wonderful. They're wonderful. They're great books. Pick up the first one, Daniel Lester. I think it's Daniel Lester. Tom, I'm sorry if I got that wrong. I have read them all. And Tom actually does a walking tour of Bologna, but as you read those books, you are literally going from bar to restaurant
In
to
the streets.
museum to whatever through the streets of Bologna. And the other thing, of course, is to look at Neil Packer's map that we did last year, because Neil Packer, fantastic illustrator, award-winning illustrator, brought Tom's books to life through a map. And so if you want to do a bar crawl, you just have to look at
Yeah. That's your go-to.
that map. But it is walkable, it is wonderful, and Tom Benjamin is very readable.
And you can join those two bits together, Jax, because you're on about finding time for serendipity, and even if you're buying and selling rights and your meetings are back to back, you know what I love about Bologna more than all of the other obvious international book fairs? And this might be because it's a smaller city, everything's walkable, but because the food and the wine, whatever your thing is so good, and all those little windy back streets, there's like no excuse for denying the extracurricular,
There is
right?
absolutely no excuse. And even before you get into the fair, you can have lived like every Italian in every novel by just going to a little coffee bar and standing up there and
Yep,
having your espresso.
exactly. And
And my
you're
best piece
bound
of
to meet someone
advice,
from the book world while you're
never,
doing it.
never, ever order a cappuccino after 11 a.m. if you're with an Italian. Okay?
If you're with an Italian. Okay, cool. So
Aside from that, you can have them whenever you like, Nathan.
yeah, well, my biggest problem is when I go into any Italian place and ask for a flat white, that just doesn't work. Milk and coffee. Wow. Yeah.
But
Cool.
no, I agree.
Well,
The backdrop of a book fair that is, the backdrop of Bologna
yeah,
is quite spectacular.
yeah. It's fantastic. Jax, thanks for your time because I know you're incredibly busy with just these couple of weeks to go and some public holidays in the way and the like. But I'll see you in a couple of weeks.
See you on the other side, and thank you so
See you on
much,
the other
Nathan.
side. I'm looking forward to the audio forum and everything else. So cool.
Well, we've been very polite
Great.
to each other now, so thank you very much, and
All right.
see you in Bologna, guys. Yeah.
Yep.
Thanks.
See you soon. Thanks, Jax.
Ciao. Bye.